Thanks for joining us on this Sunday. We begin with those arrests in the killing of prominent Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. RCMP have charged 3 Indian nationals with first-degree murder and conspiracy in the case and are still investigating whether the killing had connections to the Indian government. Last night, the Prime Minister spoke at the Sikh Foundation of Canada's Centennial Gala in Toronto.
Canada is a rule of law country with a strong and independent justice system, as well as a fundamental commitment to protecting all its citizens.
Nijjar was killed in June 2023 in Surrey, British Columbia, as he was leaving his Gurdwara. CBC News has learned police are investigating possible links to 3 more murders in Canada, including the shooting death of an 11-year-old boy in Edmonton. For more on the arrests, I spoke earlier with Balpreet Singh, legal counsel for the World Sikh Organization. Balpreet Singh, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
What did you think when you heard this news that there had been multiple arrests in the murder of Mr. Nijjar?
A long time coming, but to be honest, these arrests raise a lot more questions about what actually happened. So these are all, from what we've learned now, 20-year-old. The operating mind behind them, who directed them, that I think is going to be much more complicated, and that's what we hope is exposed very soon.
Yeah, I mean, police were asked multiple times. Well, they said actually that they're investigating the connections between the murder and the Modi government, but they wouldn't say anything more than that. Those are some of the questions, I guess, that you have and you would hope would come up as evidence gets revealed.
So today, actually, it's interesting that the Foreign Interference Inquiry released their interim report.
Yeah.
And in that report, it actually says that India uses Canada-based proxies who are directed by intelligence officers both in India and in Canada to do their dirty work, basically. And from what the reports are, it looks like that's exactly what happened. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, obviously the Prime Minister has suggested that in the past as well. So there are some threads here, I would imagine, that police are looking at still.
Yeah, so these 3 have apparently been linked to the Bishnoi gang. That's really interesting. The Bishnoi gang is led by a guy called Lawrence Bishnoi, who's been in Indian prison since 2014, so for the past 10 years. But he's linked to and has taken responsibility for the murder of Sidhu Moosewala, who was a Brampton-based rapper who was killed in 2022. He's been linked to an extortion ring targeting businesses in 6 different Canadian cities over the past year, and now the Nijjar assassination. This guy's an avowed Indian nationalist. He's actually allowed to go on Indian television and say that he is an Indian nationalist and will do everything to oppose Khalistan. So the link between the Indian government, the nexus between them and criminal gangs, that's really what's interesting.
Police say that they are, the investigation isn't over, that there are obviously 3 men charged, but there may be others. They also, the investigation was carried out in 3 provinces. I wonder about your concerns about the security of Sikh Canadians at this stage.
Well, that's a great question. There are so many Sikhs who have faced threats to their lives. I mean, over the course of the Foreign Interference Commission, it was revealed that Jagmeet Singh himself has received a duty to warn. I mean, if someone like that is being threatened, what can we say about the average citizen? So there are a number of Sikhs who currently face a threat to their lives. And to be honest, I don't think these arrests necessarily will address those threats. The operating mind, which we believe is the Indian government, needs to be addressed and basically unveiled.
One of the things that one of the police officers at least talked about was the bravery of the Sikh community in British Columbia, in Surrey, and how much they cooperated and I guess gave information that led to these arrests. What does that tell you about how damaging this has been for that community, how difficult it has been?
Indian interference against Canadian Sikhs, the targeting of Canadian Sikhs, is a 4-decade-long story. We have been targeted in many different ways. Whether that means if you speak out, you're denied a visa, or your family's harassed, or your business is targeted, and up to what Hardeep Singh Nijjar faced, which is assassination. So it indeed does take a lot of guts to speak out openly and to put your concerns forward about the government of India, because the government of India is very petty and they will do things to you.
Well, again, that has not been proven, just so people understand. But yes, that is certainly something that the police are investigating in this case. Tell me whether you think this will allow other Sikh Canadians who are feeling threatened, as you just said, to speak up. Will this give them some hope that if they say something to police, it will be listened to?
To be honest, I don't think these arrests are going to change a heck of a lot. Until the operating minds are exposed, I don't think there's going to be a lot of satisfaction. So we can't look at Canada in isolation either. We have the investigations in the US, which have revealed links to the highest levels of the Indian government. We have the investigations in Australia, which had, quote unquote, a nest of Indian spies. So India is targeting Sikhs, not just in Canada, but across the world for expressing themselves about things like Palestine or human rights abuses. And that's unacceptable. So this is a first step, but it has to go a lot further.
Let me end on this. Obviously, there was also this assassination attempt in the U.S., and we saw a lot of the information in that indictment come out. But it was an attempt. It was prevented. And there has been some question, I think, about whether Canada is doing enough here for Sikhs in this country. What more would you like to see after this revelation, which I think woke a lot of people up to some of the things that have been happening?
Yeah, I mean, the assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar was an abject failure of Canadian intelligence, as far as I'm concerned. He was warned, along with a number of other Sikh activists, that his life was in danger a year before his assassination. He was told repeatedly that his life is in danger, but he wasn't given any resources to defend himself or to prevent an attack on his life. And that's the same story with so many other Sikh activists, even to this day. So clearly, something has not gone right. And we're glad that these activities of the Indian government against Sikhs in Canada are being talked about. And like today in the foreign interference report, India has been once again recognized as a major source of foreign interference here in Canada. But we need to go a lot further. And I think revealing the names of those people who are involved, whether they're here in Canada or in India, that's what really we're looking forward to.
Balpreet Singh, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
The RCMP say the Sikh community in British Columbia played an important role assisting the investigation into the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Moninder Singh was a friend of Nijjar's for over 15 years, and he's been close to this investigation. He joins me live now. Nice to see you this morning, Mr. Singh. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you, Rosemary. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, you've had a couple of days now, I guess, to realize that these charges have been laid and see the pictures of the men who have been charged. What are you thinking now, and what does this mean for the people in your community?
I think this is a positive step in the form of a criminal justice system that charges have been laid. The trial, the process will take place. If there's a conviction and there's sentencing, I think that part of it, I think the community understands. I think where the question still goes back to is this connection to India with the Prime Minister's revelations and the indictment in the United States. The community is still feeling, I think there needs to be more done when it comes to understanding what India's role in foreign interference has been in Canada, especially with Justice Hogue's recent revelations on how deeply India is interfering. I think that's the question for the community right now, is that, like, where do we go from here? How is India going to be held accountable? These three individuals, 3 more could be sent next week. They could be sent next year. It was a full 11 months after Hardeep was given a duty to warn on his life. Individuals like myself at the same time were given duty to warrants on our lives. So what we're wondering is this end here just with these three? And it doesn't feel that way, because the people that are sending these types of individuals onto Canadian soil, they're still out there, and India hasn't been kind of checked in that way when their defense minister, prime minister, and external affairs minister are making recent comments in the last month that we do go into foreign countries, we do go into the people's homes, and now we kill them there. That's the policy of our government. And that is very shocking at the international level, and it's very concerning at our community level.
Do you feel still concerned for your own safety? Because I would think that the charges would give India pause, but perhaps that's naive of me.
Yeah, I think we would hope it would, but the way they're brazenly making these comments around what they're going to do and what they have done, and basically celebrating these types of assassinations on foreign soil, I think it gives us, a moment to pause and wonder that, is the community safe? And how are we going to work with our leadership in Canada to ensure that, the Sikh community, there's other minorities as well that might be facing the same type of thing. But the one thing we do know is India is the only foreign actor at the moment that is basically coming down to that point where they've killed a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil, whether that's Russia or China, that are interfering at their own levels. I think we're still kind of in that space that we think that this can happen again, unless India is held to account at the international level, or basically at a national level. We need to do a public inquiry solely focused on India, because they have, in our opinion, killed a Canadian citizen here, a Sikh leader here, and they were planning on killing 3 or 4 more based on the U.S. indictment. So I think at a minimum, a public inquiry into their role, and even sharing intelligence with India. With in 2018, when the Prime Minister's visit, they signed intelligence sharing agreements with India. Those need to be checked as well as to what are we providing India for them to be able to come and do this type of activity in Canada.
Yeah. The RCMP, when they spoke on Friday, did credit the community, the Gurdwara, for their support in the investigation. What did that look like, and how risky did some people, perhaps including yourself, feel it was to take part in that investigation and share information, even if it was potentially risky?
I think it was, I'm very proud of this community at the moment, and I usually always am, but for actually taking this step and coming forward, the RCMP was absolutely correct that the community was instrumental. Sharing information is always difficult, especially those that may have to go into court and provide testimony or written testimony or in person on stand. And, when there's such a violent act committed, and countries might be behind it, it would be very difficult for any individual to even want to partake. But we saw our community come out in droves to provide information. People were offering themselves to the police that, I might have seen this, or this is possible. I'll check my cameras at my home on the route that the car might have escaped. And people were just overwhelmingly helpful in that space. But I think there's that, what I just said before this, so there is that pause though, that as to are people going to be at risk? How are we going to help keep them safe? And I think that comes back to our government, our police and law enforcement, who have done a good job up to this point of getting to these charges. But the bigger question looming is still India. And the suppression of the Khalistan movement in Canada has been a long-standing piece for them for 40 years. This is a bit of a validation, I think, and vindication for the community that's been saying for 40 years that India is interfering, and we need to be aware of them. It's unfortunate it took the assassination of a Sikh leader on Canadian soil for us to get here, though.
Just quickly, Mr. Singh, can I ask you how Mr. Nijjar's family is doing, given the news?
Yeah, I was with them at 9 a.m. on that morning, on Friday morning, when we were given the briefing by the RCMP at their headquarters. So we were there in person just before the story broke. His sons are very, they show quite a bit of emotion. It is a very emotional moment for them. The family is, very happy with this new kind of revelation here that there are charges laid. But they're very much so know that the root of this problem lies with India. So they do want to see justice for these 3 individuals that will help in their, husband's, father's, son's murder. But they also want to see Canada do more where it comes to protecting people in the future from the Sikh community, the Dalit community, the Kashmiri or Muslim community, or any community from foreign interference that may lead to someone's death here in Canada.
Moninder Singh, thank you for getting up a little bit early in British Columbia for me this morning. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.